Welcome to the Stoned Heen View, a podcast series which interviews a range of sport club representatives and leading professional sport club personnel during the COVID-19 shutdown period. We find out what these people are doing during the current health crisis with some of our most popular winter sports seasons postponed. I'm Mark Heenan, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Mark Stone. Now, Stoney, we're going to look at a local volunteer who's been an award-winning local volunteer because this person has been what you'd say a female trailblazer for her sports club. And it's great that organisations like AFL Barwon can, recommend people in this space to talk to people out there. So this person is no exception and has been such an integral part of their club over many years.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I wrote a little note for myself here. I wrote, people, women and men who follow their passion and recognise their talents. Our guest today has done that. No doubt about that.
Absolutely. So the guest came highly recommended from AFL Barwon as a champion volunteer and tireless worker at her sports club. She took out the highly prestigious Senior Football Administration honour from AFL Barwon in 2019. At the 2019 Viva Energy Geelong Refinery Club Legend Awards, which recognise and celebrate the best role models within sports clubs in the Geelong region, she took out the Trailblazer Award, which honours unsung heroes under the age of 35. She is the head of football at the Geelong West Giants and has one of the biggest jobs at her club. She is a senior women's footballer. She's also played senior netball at the club previously and has been a senior football trainer and a trainer coordinator. Her head of senior football role currently includes 2 senior GFL men's teams, 2 senior GDFNL men's teams, her senior women's teams, there's 2 of those as well, and 2 under-19s teams. And she was appointed by AFL Barwon as the inaugural senior women's interleague football team manager in 2019. We welcome to the Stoned Heen View Geelong West Giants Football Netball Club Chair and General Manager of Football, Sarah Naylor. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, guys. That's a very nice intro.
You don't get that every day, do you, Sarah?
I definitely don't get that every day. So, it's great to be here.
We're going to do the talking for you. You don't need to do your little honorary speeches, and I'm sure you've done a few of those over the last, I suppose, 2019 would have been one of your more recent memories when it comes to local sports clubs and your involvement. But I want to get off, I want to start on the note that, this is about COVID, and everyone knows that we are doing this podcast in the space that we're in at the moment with no local sport happening, and there's plenty happening there. I guess with yourself that you're a chair and a general manager of football. There's always a lot happening within a football club, and you've got a bit of an exception, is that your club that you're involved with, essentially, if we look at the men's senior part of the team, that there's 2 clubs. So in some ways, you probably think, well, there's probably twice the workload. But with no COVID period on, there's always a lot happening. And just talk to me about not so much just your role to start off with, but talk to me about the development that's going on at the West Oval. It's been on the cards for some time, and it's a very interesting place to be, being close to central Geelong, but also it's seen as a bit of a boutique venue, the West Oval.
Yeah, it's such an exciting time for us. When we heard that this was actually going to happen, everyone at the club was really excited. So it's going to be amazing to have. It's going to be a regional facility in years to come. It's state of the art. We're going to have everything in there. So players, coaches, volunteers, past players. We're all so excited to have it completed. To be next year and be able to start using it and reaping the benefit from it. Very exciting times.
Sarah, I'm just really curious about the role you play, because having been in footy administration before, you've got netball and you've got two clubs or 2 teams. How did you get to the position where you're in the role you are at Geelong West Giants? How did that come about?
Yeah, well, so I think I've been at the club about 10 years, and I started off just doing little volunteer roles. A friend of mine, Blanche Denmead, she roped me into being on the netball committee. And I ended up doing, I think I did a secretary role, vice president, and then she actually moved over into footy and I followed her. So I was the treasurer there for a little while and then, took over the reins of looking after football. So that's how I got there. It was sort of starting at netball, heading over to football, and in between that time, the 2 Geelong West teams, so the Geelong West West St. Peters and Geelong West Cheetahs. We came together through a joint venture and became the Giants, and then took over the general manager of football.
Hello to Blanche. Actually, I've met Blanche a few times in my other role in primary school education, particularly at Drysdale and Newcombe Park Primary School. So hello to Blanche. I'm sure she does a great job with local sports administration and also involvement with football. And it's great to know that you've got a bit of a mentor there that's following you in that path. Very interesting when I look at Geelong West, because as a recruit, so if you're a player that wants to go to another club, and particularly if you're in the wider Geelong region, it can be seen as a central club, not far from the CBD, got a good facility, you're very close, you've got that access to Melbourne and also Geelong as well. But when you think about it, there's two teams, right? There's two teams. So it's pretty easy for that recruit to say, right, I've got the option of playing Geelong and District Football League, or I've got the option of playing Geelong Football League. Now, if you look at the ladder last year, right? So if you go through the ladder, Geelong West Giants in the GDFL won 7 games and lost 10, and they had a draw. Now, they finished 8th, and if you go to the GFL, they finished 10th, the 5-13 record. So you would still have a lot to do in this season where there's COVID and there's been no play. Talk to me about that and the option and the flexibility that recruits have to coming to a club with the two league.
Yeah, so it's not even just recruits, it's also our juniors coming through as well. And that was the beauty, or that is the beauty and the uniqueness of our club is pathways that we offer. You see in a lot of other clubs that you've got, they've got a lot of juniors coming through, and there's sort of a bottleneck because you've only really got your senior team and your reserves team, whereas we've got 4 senior teams. So they can, depending on either where they want to be or their skill level, they can still play football. They can go and play GFL, or they can go and play GDFL. They can go and play GDFL and then work on themselves for a couple of years and then go up and play GFL. So I guess we're so unique in that aspect within the region, because we're the only club in the region that has that can offer those opportunities to players, so to new, as you said, new recruits, but more importantly for us, we want to see our juniors stay around. So a lot of the time you see I guess the footballers, they come up to their 19 sort of, and some of them fall away, but we want to keep them there so they can go and play GDFL with their mates, or they can excel at GFL.
You were described as in marking your intro as a trailblazer. Now, not a bad statement, but I'm just curious about your background, because footy administration is a tough gig. You got to work, there's a lot, 24/7, 100 hours a week. What preparation is given to you to get to the role you're at, and why do you love it so much?
Yeah, so I've actually studied it. So I did a Bachelor of Commerce and majored in sports management at Curtin University in WA. And I guess that definitely helped me understand the whole administration side, but nothing beats experience, I guess. And so, as I said before, just, starting off on the netball committee and working my way through there, and covering all the different roles of a committee as well, because then you can understand what everyone else is doing within the committee. So I think that's definitely the key. Why do I love it so much? Definitely the people. I have met so many amazing people. I think it was like when we came together through the joint venture, the amount of people I've met is unbelievable, and continuing to meet people, and it's definitely the people, why I love it so much and why I keep doing it.
Now, on a little bit of a lighter note, Mark Stone, myself and you, we did catch up before this podcast today.
We did.
And your dog Piper wasn't there.
No.
Mark Stone's dog Maxine was there. So you got to meet Maxine. But one thing I was going to mention was, and a little bit interesting, is that the club that I've had a lot to report on in the last 10 years, and part of me coming into this podcast and part of how we started it up was, doing a lot of work with Ocean Grove and the sports clubs out there, is that you have, you've picked up a few recruits, and they won't mind me saying out there that it's, Callie Williams and Justin Carey and Caden Long and Tom Lumberg. There's quite a few, and there's probably a few to come to speak of as well. Who's found those recruits for you? It's not your dog Piper, but who is it? Who's the person at the Ocean Grove beach that's been waddling around for recruits?
No, well, our head coach of the GDFL senior team, Mitch White, he's been working fairly hard with his assistant coaches. So assistant coaches Justin Carey and Aaron O'Callaghan. So there's your link there, I reckon.
Well, you've got a surfboard in the background there, so I thought that might have been a dead giveaway. I'm just trying to get the happy medium with the compromise between Ocean Grove, the beach, the surf, the dog walking on the beach, you know. There's all these things are coming into play here.
Yeah, no, definitely not me.
Sarah, I'm just back to the role. You, we all have different strengths. You know, some people are people person, some people administration person. What's your strength, and what do you think you bring to the table in your role? Because you don't get an award or be a leading administration in a really big competition if you haven't got a strength that really is unique to a lot of other people. So, what's your strength, uniqueness that you bring to the role? Do you believe?
That's a very good question. Probably, I'd like to say the communication sort of aspect. I really like listening to people. That's probably one of my strengths, is listening. I hope that's what other people would say too. Yeah, just being around people. I guess in my the first couple of years when we had the joint venture, I was a trainer at that stage, and I probably I came from the cheaters side of things, but I sort of put myself in and to be a trainer with the GFL side. So, and that's how I got to meet everyone. And I think that's where you build a relationship with people. So I guess probably building relationships with people, I like to think that that's my strength.
Good answer.
Now, we want to talk about the development that's happening at Geelong West at the moment. And believe it or not, Sarah, when I was young and playing football, I had the honour of playing against Geelong West. I always remember the day when I was playing a Friday night game and they were giving away T-shirts and that sort of thing. And warming up in the flower stand when you got the wooden planks, that was always interesting. And I remember the game that we played one day, the sprinklers actually came on before half time. So we were like, what's going on here? But, you know, it's a very unique ground. And I'm not just talking about the facilities. I'm talking about the venue itself. It's got the bicycle track that goes around it. And if we just look at the transformation, and this was an email or this was something that this has been on the cards for some time, this West Oval transformation. Yeah. So, you know, the proposed redevelopment includes, you know, constructions of 2-storey multi-use club and club building, new entrance to Waddell Road, including pedestrian plaza, improved seating for spectators, obviously the support infrastructure for coaches' boxes and interchange areas. Mm-hmm. Was it a holistic point of view, the facility as in the facilities is outdated, or do they wanted to have a more modern look with the ground itself? Was it a holistic point of view, and how much work has gone into this?
A lot of work has gone into this with multiple different people. There's been a lot of people involved with it, and I am very, very thankful for the people that we have had involved with it, because it's not an easy thing to, I guess, not manage the process, because that's what council do, and council manage it. So we're very lucky to have council do that, be on board with all of this. But facilities were outdated. Like, there was no women's facilities, and women's, we're very strong about the fact that we want women's football to be very prominent within our club, and all our junior girls coming up and playing footy as well. And we don't have the facilities to cater for them. There's definitely outdated facilities. We want it to be a regional facility. We want everyone to be able to use it, everyone in the community to be able to use it.
Sarah, I'm reading a little note here, which is really exciting. AFL Barwon has said possible finals. It's going to have AFL stand interchange and coaches boxes, TAC Cup football, AFLW and VFL matches. So as a second oval in Geelong, possibly, that's a pretty exciting thing to think about for the future.
Absolutely. And that's what we see it as, probably the outside of GMHBA Stadium. We see it as the next best thing. Very, very exciting to be a part of it. It'll be great to have.
Just a quick one before I ask the next question. Do you want it to be known as the boutique venue in the Geelong region?
Not necessarily. We don't really need it to be known as anything. We want it to be a community venue, really. We want anyone to be able to come and use it.
And will you have the cycle track?
Stage 2, I think, is the removal of the cycle track, but there's no plan for that to happen yet.
Talk to me about the work as a volunteer, because obviously going into this season, you probably didn't know how to plan. You know, there's scenarios that whether you're going to play, there was going to be a women's competition. They had it earmarked that date. Now, the stage restrictions had changed that, so we got junior football off the ground. What work have you done with the teams this year? Because I know that there is the upper echelon of, you know, under 19s and above, but still there was a season that got off the ground at junior level, right? So what was your involvement on the Saturdays, and what's been your involvement, or not so much with Zoom meetings, but the involvement from the club when there hasn't been any play, and how much contact you in contact with the club?
So I guess I'll just start off with our executive committee meet every fortnight. So we've been in constant contact with each other. From a player point of view, our coaches have been fantastic with keeping in contact with all of their players. Our leadership groups have also done the same thing. I know within the, because I'm a part of the women's football program, we had groups and we all had certain, I guess, exercises or whatever were worth different points. So we had challenges that way. That was really important. And that was, I think that was through the April sort of May period, lockdown period. And I think that really helped a lot of the girls, especially get through those early stages. But yeah, just being in constant contact with everyone, and our coaches have been fantastic.
I've got two questions here, Marco, just quickly. Are you still playing sport? Do you get time to play sport? That's one question. My other question is, the gentleman below there that does all my research for me suggests to me that you've got a twin sister, and are you identical?
She's a hairdresser, so she probably did her hair because she's got it tied up like a bun.
No, I actually did it.
No, I'm only
joking. Yeah, no. Yes, I do have a twin sister. She is a hairdresser. She owns her own business. So the hair room in, just off Shannon Avenue. So there's a plug for her. Now, what was the other question? Do I have time to play sport?
That's right.
I struggle a little bit, to be honest. I try. Last year I had my first year of playing footy. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was great. And this year, if women's football got ahead, I actually wasn't going to play because I didn't have the time. I couldn't commit to training with everything else going on. But yeah, hoping to jump back into it next year. And yeah.
Well, I was in contact with someone, and his name,
God.
he was. I known him from Ocean Grove a bit, but I will mention his name. But this is okay. But Gary O'Callaghan said that you were the best student that he ever
Yes.
taught. He was your principal, but more to the point is that, there's a lot of local community contacts in that sense. So it's been a bit interesting, not having any footy season this season. So he did mention about the hairdresser thing with your sister.
Yeah.
Twin. But what's it like not having any football season off the ground? Because I'd imagine you'd be pretty socially engagement, particularly with what's going on. I mean, what other skills have you learned during this COVID period and in your other work? And then also, how do you communicate with the players and the social friendships you have with the Geelong West Giants people?
Yeah, so I've been able to keep really busy, I guess, once with work. So I work for Carbon Revolution, and then I'm also doing renovations at a house that with my brother. He's a builder, so Naylor Builders, and we've been every weekend we're getting stuck into renovations. So that's been my life pretty much. So it's actually been lots of fun. Keeping in touch with everyone, it's mainly just through social media at the moment. That's the best we can do until we're let out and we can start seeing people and catching up with people.
Sarah, is any indication when pre-season will start, or is that all depending on COVID and big question mark? I suppose you keep yourself busy at that point.
Big question mark at the moment. We have no idea when pre-season will begin. As soon as we're allowed to, with all the restrictions, we'll be out there. But yeah, at this stage, it's the unknown. So things are starting to look a little bit better though, with the number of cases. So yeah, fingers crossed, restrictions are eased soon and we can get stuck back into it.
Absolutely. I think we're looking forward to the day, regardless of what sport it is, that we want to have some sort of local sport in our community going on, and whether that's junior or so, it doesn't really matter if it's other sports, whether it's cricket or bowls or surf lifesaving or just things in the community that are happening on the weekends. We want to go back to a bit of normality. When we seem to think of your role within the club, you've had a huge impact, and this person I spoke to mentioned that you had a huge impact across all teams. She's been a voice, she's been personal, very efficient. You generally care for everyone at the club. You won't find a harder working person than Sarah Naylor at the Geelong West Giants. The only thing is, when it comes to sort of your most embarrassing moment off the field, and we love to have a little bit of banter on this show, have you ever sustained a head injury off the field, and does it involve a bin?
Yes, I was just trying to think, what is my most embarrassing off-field moment? And that didn't even come to mind. Yes, up in Cairns, we went up there for footy trip end of October, I think it was, and we had a bit of on the Saturday, I think, we had a bit of a challenge. It was kind of like, I think it was like an amazing sort of race sort of thing. And the very last thing, we did was someone had to get in a bin. So I got in the bin, and then when I tried to get out, the wheels sort of went under me and smacked my head on the ground. And one of the girls took me to the hospital. I was fine. Well, kind of fine.
What have you taught yourself during COVID, Sarah? What have you learnt? What have you had time to do? Obviously, not having to go to the club, so you keep yourself busy doing other things.
Yeah, I've actually started my CPA, so started that. So that's something I'm starting to learn. But I've been involved with the women leadership group, women in sport leadership group with Leisure Networks. We have a session every month, so that's been great. Fiona Bennett is doing amazing things at Leisure Networks. I'm also a part of the advisory committee for Barwon Game Changer, which is the program manager for. So that's also kept me busy getting involved with that and just learning lots about leadership, but also women in sport. And they've organised lots of different guest speakers, it's been fantastic.
We wanted to mention about your involvement, particularly with a place like Leisure Networks, and we know the importance of that in the community that we're in and the role that they play. Now, just as we wrap up, what's been the biggest honour that you have had as someone that works in local sport? I mean, obviously, to get recognised, I think, with the Judges Awards last year, to be up on stage at the Viva Energy Sport Club Awards, I mean, that's a huge honour. And then, obviously, the work that you've done around the club, I mean, how hard is it to keep a balance with all competing interests, from women's footy to, even previous work in netball and obviously under-19s teams and, the GDFL and GFL component? How hard is it to keep that balance there, and what's been your biggest honour in local sport?
The balance, I guess, it's just having all the help from all of the other volunteers at the club. Everyone does such a wonderful job. One person can't do it all. Like the awards and everything I won, like it's not just me, like everyone who's helped out and who assists at the club. And it doesn't matter what you do there, whether you're a president, whether you're a water runner, player, on the social committee, anything like that, everyone does an amazing job. So yeah, it's a team effort, let's put it that way.
I'll just wrap up by saying, that having been a volunteer myself and worked in sport and football, that you're only as good as the people that help you out. And Sarah, you're doing a wonderful job. It's a hard gig, and sometimes it's a thankless because you've got to work a lot of hours, but if you've got a good team of people below you and beneath you, it makes it a hell of a lot easier. So well done, and well done on the award, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and as I said, thanks for joining us on the Stoned Heen View. I mean, obviously, one of our interviews that we did with a volunteer would have been back with the Port Wellington Football Netball Club president, Linda Shaw. So she's a female and a trailblazer in the sport, particularly as there's a lot of males, particularly with the admin side. So you've got to balance up against that. But one thing that resonated with Mark Stone and myself is that she mentioned that she had to be a bit kinder to herself. So we really want to thank you for being on the Stoned Heen View podcast and getting a unique look at a volunteer and the role that they have within a sports club. So really appreciate your time and keep up the great work.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. It's been an honour to join you today.
Mark Stone, that was Sarah Naylor, and Sarah Naylor has a big job within her sports club. Thinking about, when you think about even a chair, even a general manager of football, you're thinking, well, it's probably just one club, but she's got twice the amount of work when it comes to two clubs, particularly as it's a GFL club and a GDFL club. Yes, they didn't have any season here, but you can never underestimate the importance of a volunteer within the club. And, those words that Linda Shaw spoke about couldn't be any truer in a lot of sense, because you've got to make time for yourself, and you've got a job, and if you've got a mortgage like Sarah has, you've got to think about that as well.
I think when you've got a hard-working committee and you can work with your committee for a collective goal, and it looks like Geelong was doing that with all the facilities and the teams they have and the two competitions, that if you've got a collective bunch of people working together for the one goal, it makes it a lot different, because if you're trying to do it yourself, it really takes a lot of energy. And I'm sure Sarah, who's still there, will recognise the fact that she works hard and she loves what she does, but she's got a good team of people with her. So as I said before, it's a great gig, and well done.
And the volunteer is such an integral part of a sports club. So it's great to get a different perspective, a champion volunteer in a local sport, or local sports themselves within sports clubs. They do a great job, and I know that they'll be looking forward to when local sport comes back into action. So you can get in contact at any time if you have a guest in mind from a sports club. You can check us out on the Stoned Heen View on Facebook. Type in the Stoned Heen View Facebook, or type it into Facebook and Instagram. Our podcast is also available on Apple Podcasts, the Stoned Heen View, and also Spotify. We're under the launching platform of Podbean as well. The Stoned Heen View has a YouTube channel. And in the last couple of days, I've managed to start up the Stoned Heen View Twitter account. Now, it's at Stoned Heen View, so it fits within the characters. So look forward to that, Mark Stone. We've got the Twitter up and running, so give that a plug.
Yeah, why not get on Twitter and check out the Stoned Heen View,
And you'll be putting up this podcast on the YouTube channel during the course of this week. So we've had a great guest. Now we're going to be back into our sponsorships and a little bit of an announcement. We have 3 sponsors over the course of the next few weeks. We have McCartney Real Estate on September 23, East Fruit Market on September 30, and we also have just recently announced the Leopold Sportsman's Club. So we're going to be talking to representatives from those sports clubs and also those businesses as well. So we look forward to that, and we'll see you soon on episode 24 of the Stoned Heen View. Bye for now.